We always have Moose sit at boundaries. Front door is a big boundary. I mean, a huge boundary, of course, for any dog. This is the main boundary. She sits and waits. I come back next to her. I say, okay. She walks in with me without pulling through the doorway. Do a little left circle whenever you have to turn around. Turn left into her, because that movement, okay, of turning left, you can set her up for where you want her to be. Sit. Also, it's a very dominant type of body language move. You turn left into the dog, and the leash stays loose as well. So if you turn right, you'd be pulling. When you turn left to do anything like close the door or take her somewhere, you want to have her pointed in a certain direction. That's a good way to do it. Do a left turn to make that happen. So she's sitting in front of the mat with my right hand. I'm going to pat her chest and say, go to your mat. I'm going to walk over with her and say, down. So in the case of sending her to the mat, you say go, but you should walk over and say down. It's easier that way for her. And then you start your exercise. Make sure that when you reward, you hold the reward like this so that you can control the way that she accepts the reward. So you want to be able to put it on the mat like this. Good, and withdraw. Say good when she takes it. I'll do it on this side so you can see it. See how she's waiting? Good. That's what you want to do. If she's jumpy, nervous, if she's grabbing your hand, she's trying to take it, you pull back. Nope. Make sure that she's calm. Make sure that she really waits. You set it down there, put it on the mat. Good. Let go of it and withdraw. Don't throw it down or anything like that, because the way that you deliver the reward is very important. You want to deliver the reward in a very calm, purposeful way, because then she'll stay calmer. The whole object of this exercise is that she practices being calm for 5 minutes a day. And so usually I'll set my timer for 5 minutes and just do this exercise for 5 minutes. Start out by walking around like this, basic downstay. Everything she does on the mat, she'll start doing without the mat as you practice it without the mat. Good, but it's because we did the mat for the last 3 weeks that she's so good in a downstay out on the street or in a yard or in a room without the mat. So once you've done that and she's in the zone, she's fully focused, you can start walking farther away. I'm going to walk way to the back of the house, way out of her sight, way back here. Come back. Give her a reward. That was very good. Always come back in front. Always reward her the same time. I mean the same way every time. Good. So you come back to the same place every time. No matter where you go, what noises you make, it always ends this way, and you always reward her the same way. Now I'm going to go in the back of the house, close the door behind me, and make some noise. If you ever think that you're doing something that's difficult for her to handle, it's okay to remind her what you want her to keep doing. So before I do something that I think might make her pop up, I'll say down, just to remind her what to keep doing. Go back here, I'm going to knock on the door. Good. Come back in front, always rewarding the same way. Calmly placing that reward on the mat. Good. She takes it off the mat. This is usually an invitation for the dog to jump up and come over to you when you sit on the sofa. And if you do more things like that, you can make the dog jump up sometimes, but she's very good at this, and she knows that there's only one way she'd ever leave that mat, and that's when she's released in a very specific way. So she gets a reward for that. Good. So I always try to do something from each angle, something different. You can also, once you drop that leash, you can also do circles in a wider area. Always go around both ways so she's used to you coming around from both sides. Because if you only went always on her left side like that, then she'd be much better on her left and on her right. So always even things out. This is usually the hardest thing here for dogs to handle. I'm going to go outside, I'm going to knock on the door and do some other things. Down. Okay, so that's not a big deal. She gets a reward. Good. Let's try some other things. Down. Nail flap, doorbell. knocking on the door, and then going to the window. This is really hard for a lot of dogs to handle. And then coming in. Good, she's very calm. In a solid downstay. Good, I gave her a double reward. If she does something exceptional, if you really pull out all the stops and try to really do something that you think maybe she can't handle, then, and she does do it successfully, give her a double reward, because she'll know that she got rewarded extra for doing something extra difficult, and she'll expect a big reward next time, and it'll help her just be better every time if you do it that way. So you wouldn't want to give her just a regular piece for something that was really hard, where you give her a regular piece for just basic things. So bigger the challenge that she actually successful with, the bigger the reward. And then when you're going to take her off the mat, pick up the leash. Oh, by the way, if she ever does make a mistake, she didn't during this video, let's say she just stood up, you say no, and I always pivot on my right foot, and I use my left to just put her back, and then continue whatever you're doing. Don't say down again. You already said down once. You want that first down to mean it, even if it's for 5 minutes. You say no, put her back. If she's left the mat, stay calm. You say no. Say I was outside, I came in, she was here at the door. I'd take the leash, I'd step into her, and I'd just lead her back there, and I'd put her back. I'd go back and I'd do it again. If I had to do that 3 times, I'd do it 3 times until she developed the focus or decided to focus enough so that she could do it successfully, get rewarded, and then we move on. You're getting her back with her knowing what the rules are. So if you just do these moves, they'll trigger her to play the game. She probably won't make a mistake twice, because if you're doing this, she knows, okay, we're going to be here all day unless I get it together and stay here until he comes back. Then I get rewarded, and then we get to move on. So that's how you would be handling those mistakes if she makes them. When you're going to release her, you pick up the leash, you stand back next to her, pat your leg and say, okay. And in this case, sit. We're going to have her sit, so I'm going to give her some free time outside. This front door thing, I do it this way every time. Everybody that handles her, so six times a day, 7 times a day, she'll do it this way every time she goes out. She sits in a sit stay. You're accentuating the fact that this is your boundary. It's much harder for a dog to stay in a sit stay when you do this. The old-fashioned way would call her to come to you, and so she breaks out of a sit stay and rushes through the doorway, which is exactly what you never want her to do. Even if you're calling her, it just makes for an unstable sit stay. This is harder for the dog to do. Therefore, you have a higher level of focus, and she has better skills if you do it this way. And if she never travels through this boundary, okay, like this, other than this way, then she's way more likely to only go through with you, because that's the only way that it ever is done when you're training. And on the outside, you say sit, and you would release her, go. But I'm going to come back again just to show you that. Sit. Like, you could just do this exercise back and forth a couple times. Okay. And then one more time, just do a circle. Sit. And by the way, if the door is closed, it's even more difficult for the dog, so let's make it more difficult. Okay. Because sit, many dogs pop up when the door is open, so I always start having her sit, open the door, step out. And by the way, this is how you start your walks. Start the walk inside your house, you hook her up, you have her sit, you open the door, and the training starts right here. Okay, if you're going for a walk, sit, and you continue through, and on another video clip you'll see me coming out of my gate. I walk her through in training mode through the yard, do it at the gate, the curb, cross the street, let her be free. You'll see that in the next clip as well, the leash walking clip. But out here she's just going to have some free time in the yard, so I'm going to release her to be free. Go! Now she has a little free time. Okay, sit. We always have her sit before she goes into the crate, then we open the door, right hand pats her chest and says go. She goes in, turns around, she gets a treat. She always loves to go in a crate. I reach in, I'm going to take off her training collar And just explain that to you very quickly. She uses this small little prong collar. It's the smallest size they make. You see throughout the videos how we use it. There's never a tight leash. It's not dangerous. It's not a torture device. It's not cruel. She's never been, this has never caused her pain because of the way we handle it. But it does help you, really help you handle her without that pulling, because it closes with the same pressure all the way around the back of the neck as the front. Makes it really easy for you, being a fairly beginner in dog training like most people are. It just helps you out. So don't let people tell you it's cruel. It's all how you use it that matters, and I made the videos to prove it. So this thing, when you're not using it, you hang it on the door. The choke chain is only for safety, therefore it's always hanging loose. It's doubled up on the leash with the prong collar. When that prong collar, if it ever does come off by accident on the street, choke chain comes into play and you don't lose a dog. You never use this for training. This would be dangerous. This would be damaging to the neck. There's no safety. Prong collar can only close so far. This, it closes, it just chokes her. There's no limit to how far it closes, so it could really screw up her neck or larynx. So we never use this for training. It's just for safety, hanging loose in case the other one came off. So you can put that and the leash anywhere. At my house, she sleeps overnight in the crate. We feed her in the crate. She gets her bones and chewies, anything that's special in the crate. Every time she goes in, she gets a reward like you saw. All associations with the crate are very, very good. Dogs are naturally den animals, so this is her den, and so it'd be really hard to screw it up, like to make a dog hate the crate. So all the associations, every time we come in to handle her, whether taking her out or putting her in, is very positive, and she gets rewards for that. So when you're going to, oh, and by the way, during the day here, she's constantly in and out. She's out every hour, hour and a half or so, back in throughout the day, and the same routine: sitting, going, waiting, coming out, sitting at doorways, going, being free in the yard, comes to the doorways, back inside, sit at the crate, go inside. It's always the same. That's why she's come so far in 3 weeks, because every time that we handled her was an opportunity to train her. When you're going to take her out, she needs to wait. The power of the crate is that she waits at the boundary, and we always, give her a reward when she waits, when she doesn't try to burst out like she used to do at first. Also, if she tries to do that now, no, just give it a little, what I call a token slam. She knows what that means. Although you could see here, she has no desire to come out. She's waiting to be allowed to come out. Good, so she gets rewarded for that every time. First thing I'm going to do, especially if I'm going to take her out in public, is I'm going to put the choke chain on first. And then I'm going to put the prong collar on. And the prong collar is attached to the leash already. You always attach it to the funny shaped buckle. The round ring is just a spacer. Make sure that it's not twisted, so you can hang it like that. Make sure it's not twisted. It should look like this. If it's twisted, it won't work. So make sure it's not twisted. And then you just reach in. You're already attached to the leash. You reach in, hook her up, and then just by feel, you can hook her up to that choke chain as well. It's super easy, especially after you practice for a few days. She's going to wait in there because you control this boundary now. Remember, if she tries to come out, no. See how she got up and she thought she'd come out. So I said no, and I did a little slam. She's waiting. Always follow up a little correction. That was a pretty minor correction, but about as, bad as we correct here at all. That was it. Follow it up once she's doing what you want her to do with a reward to show her that is what we want. Just don't correct or do that and let it hang there. Always follow up with good when she's doing what you do want her to do. So she's waiting for me to pat my leg and say, okay. She'll come out, another left turn, close that crate, and she gets to go outside. Sit. And we're coming out with Moose onto the street. This is how I start the walk. Every day we go on a walk. All the boundaries are weighted at. She waits at all the boundaries. I step out. She waits till I come back. I hold the leash like I'm going to walk her. Okay. She walks through with me without pulling. If you're by yourself, you're going to have to do a little left turn. You always turn left into the dog, of course. And close that gate. And I say of course because of course you're going to use your body to do your turns, because it does all the work. And even if she wants to pull a little bit because she's excited because she's out on the street, sit. It's so much easier to get her to go in a certain direction if you turn into her, because if you don't, you're turning right and you're going to pull her most of the time. No. So I'm having her sit. So I would come out, I would do my left circle, I'd have her sit, and I always have her sit at the first curb. And even though your setup is different, where you have a walkway that leads to the sidewalk, this is what we've been doing here. And if you're walking her and you cross the street, see how she popped up before I released her? Make sure that she does it the right way before you move forward. When you cross the street, I would recommend always having her sit and do that little walk around thing. It's great practice. Okay, you walk across the street in training mode, see how she stays next to me. I'm walking super slow and just doing those little, it's like, I call it tapping the brakes, just these little prompts to keep her next to you. Teach her to walk slow. She's excited because she gets excited when she goes on walks, and she loves the camera person, so she wants to go over there and jump on her or something. But we're over here, we have her sit, and so we started the training mode over there at the gate. We had her sit, did the sit stay at the curb. We had her sit, and then we had a distraction pass by. We had her sit again, but we started over there. We walked across the street in training mode. I came here, I had her sit, and now I'm going to release her, go to be free, and now the walk starts. That's the way I've been doing it, and the reason is that you start the walk and you start the whole interaction on the leash inside your house, inside the front door, just like you saw us do, and you walk through the yard, sit at the gate if you have one, walkway, practice that, sit at the curb, and then by the time you get out here and you release her to be free on the walk, she's in the zone and she's calm. If you let her pull you through the front door and through the gate and down the street, it's really hard to do training at that point because she's already overstimulated and out of control. So the training starts and the walk starts on the inside of your front door when you hook up the leash, and she doesn't go through that boundary until she does it the right way, calmly. So by the time you get out here 2 minutes later, half your training's done, she starts to walk like this, where she's not pulling, she's calm. And then you can just let her be on free time, come, and keep calling her back periodically. Good. Sit. Go. You can just do that periodically. Or if you're walking, you can just come. Just call her back like this. Good. Let's say that you see a distraction. Let's say that there's a dog coming your way, or across the street, or a person or something that she's distracted by. Come. Just call her back like that. Good. And then she looks at it again. Let's say she looks at it again. Come. Just keep calling her back like that. You don't always have to. Good. You don't always have to have her sit and then release her again. Even just by calling her away from distractions over and over again, you're breaking up that staring thing. Staring leads to more extreme behavior, and then usually it's tight leash as well. Staring and leash tension can lead to worse behaviors and more overstimulation. Everything gets worse. So she's coming back to you, therefore the leash is loose. She keeps breaking her gaze at whatever the distraction is because you keep calling her back to you, and it's making you dominant every time you do that, because you tell her to do something, she turns her back on the distraction, comes back to you, she gets rewarded for it. Even if she looks again, you just do it over and over again, and not that many times, like you could do it 5 or 6 times, it would make a huge difference, and she would pretty much just stay with you at that point and lose interest in the distraction. So that's why we do it that way with distractions. And then you just have your walk. Most of the time it's on a loose leash, which is the way you want it. Sit. We're having her do her basic commands in a place where there's a lot of distractions. Pan slowly to your right and just show what's going on here. Just, slowly to your right. So you show that. Yeah. And she's really distracted. So that's why I'm doing the sit stays here and the down stays, so that you can see that she can actually do this stuff where there's a lot going on. There's a bunch of little kids about ready to pass by. This lady, the cart's gonna run into the kids. Disaster. You see them going past? Okay. Good, and she stayed there. So the basic rule is, I'm going to do it again. Okay, so we never repeat a command. You say sit. Good, that's the way to reward her. It's straight down, eye contact. She was looking at me when I rewarded her. Stay is built into sit, so you see that I don't say stay. She'll stay there. She's supposed to stay there in the presence of distractions. And the basic sit stay is we're just walking around her like that, like you saw me do before as well. And then if she gets up before you release her, you just say no, and you gently but firmly pull up on the leash until her butt goes down, and then you release. You're not popping, jerking, any of that. And you only say sit once. You never repeat the command. Stay is built into sit, so you don't have to say that. And to release her, she's waiting for you to come back next to her. You can either say okay, and she'll walk with you, or you can pat her chest like I'm about to do, and you say go. And then she's free. Okay. Down. So we're in a real high stress area. That's why I'm doing the video here. I had to help her just a little bit when I said down to go there. But really the tough part is to stay, of course. When you say down, it means to stay. We're doing this in a situation where there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm just going to do a quick down stay. Then I'm going to show you how to release her. And if she stays down in the presence of a lot of distractions, good, reward her. If she pops up before you release her, say no, and just gently but firmly put her back. But she's waiting for you to come back next to her. Pat your leg and say, okay, and then sit. And then the way to release her, you always release from a calm sit stay. So I said, okay, I had her sit, and then pat her chest, go. Then she's free. That's how you release her out of a down stay. Sit. This is a greeting routine that we do every day with Moose. Give the person a little treat so she can offer that to Moose. When she comes over to you, have it down there. So, because if it's down there, she's not going to jump. See how she offered it to her? But she has to wait until I actually send her over to that person. So make sure she waits until you pat her chest and say, go say hi. She takes it. You can pet her too if you want. Go, come. But see, we've done this so much. And this is, I think I talked to you guys about this. Sit. When we had our lesson, that you do this enough and she starts coming back to you before you even say come, which is actually what you want. And it's the opposite of what probably used to happen. She'd go to somebody, jump on them, be obnoxious. They'd have to say leave it and off or whatever and push her away. That's why that problem was there. But now you have a greeting routine. Go to where you can pet her with the other hand. Come. She doesn't jump. She knows she's supposed to come back to you right away. Sit, we'll do it one more time. It's also a great way to practice her. Nope, if she gets up before you release her, you just do your circle, put her back. She's in love with the camera lady, so she keeps staring at her. One last time. It's a great way to practice your sit stay, your go command, and then your come, calling her back to you. And a great way to teach her to greet people that come to your house respectfully. So you do this exercise in front of your house on your walkway, and then you all come in together, and she's going to be a lot better behaved with strangers or visitors to your house. She can do before I send her home. It's a treat. You're not a vegan, are you? No. Good. Let's meet there. Go. Hi. New person. I'm going to call her back to come. Come. Let me do it one more time. Good. Sit. It's a high stress environment for her, but she's still doing really well. Go say hi. Yes, hi. She gets to say hi, gets a treat from a stranger, everything's cool. She doesn't jump on him. I call her back to come. He comes back. Good girl. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Thank you. Here we are with Moose, and I just want to break down step by step how I've been practicing calling her to come to me, and we're doing it in a very busy area out here. Left hand leash, put your hand through that loop. Right hand reward, and the reason is that when you call her to you, come like this, Good. The leash is going to be on your left hand, so you can just grab it. And if the loop is the loop is on your hand, on your wrist, you can still use your hand, obviously. So, but you'll never lose the leash. So, left hand leash, right hand reward. Always call her to this target, because when you don't have a reward, come. When you don't have a reward, call her this way. Good. She'll still come to this because we've always practiced with a reward in the heat of the moment. She doesn't know it's empty, so always use a target, the closed hand. Later on, you can just use it more and more when you call her to come to you, and maybe just, you know, if you call her 10, 15 times a day, maybe once a day, just have something in there over time. Because later on, you want to phase the food out. Obviously, you can't carry treats with you forever. So when you back away, come. She's drawn to you. Good, good girl. If you don't have a reward on you, like just then, just give her extra attention. Say, good, rub her head. See how I do it? Everything happens at the same moment. Come. Good. The petting, the treat, everything happens at the same moment you grab the leash. Always back away. If for some reason she ever ignores that command, and you're only practicing on a leash, of course, when you do practice, because that way you can always reinforce that command if she doesn't do it the first time you say it. But if she ever ignores you and you have the leash in your hand, just make sure that you just do that prompt. Good. And she comes your way. She's still going to get better, because all she knows is you heard the command once, and in a difficult situation, she was too excited to respond, or maybe she really doesn't want to. All she knows is she heard it once. She ended up coming to you, and you still complete that pattern. You said it once, somehow she gets there, she gets rewarded, and you want to continue that unbroken pattern of saying it once and it happens. The worst thing to do would be to repeat it several times. And you never do that, because you want to practice exactly the way you want it to be in real life. So you say it once, gently but firmly reinforce it with a leash if you have that problem, and it just gets better over time if you always do it that way. Come. I'm just practicing calling moose away from an extreme situation. Pan to your right to show this. And they'll come up to the window in a second. And then see how they're coming. Come! And then I call moose away. Good. I'm practicing on purpose here because it's a big distraction. And this, so show it again, okay? Come! So see how I'm calling her away. I'm not pulling her back to me. I'm backing away, using my target. And just keep watching me now, because you know what's happening there now. Come! And I just practice this. With the recall, distance is your friend. So if you stay farther away from a big distraction, come. The dogs are just standing there staring at her. Show the dogs one more time. They're just standing there staring at her. Come. So it's a big distraction. But this is what I would be doing on the street when you encounter this kind of stuff, dogs at fence lines or on leashes or whatever. Just get a bunch of repetitions from any situation like that. And makes her recall better. Come. One last one. Good. So that's using her recall in a real life situation. And then move on.